Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the magnificent Monday edition of the Yard. Hope things are well with you wherever you are today. There's not a lot of joy in Starkville. I can share that with you. I've been, kind of neglecting to record this show for a while because I wanted to get my thoughts together. But it's disappointing. I mean, it's beyond disappointing because I think in many respects we have become so accustomed and in some ways probably spoiled, the last several years to expect June baseball. And as it stands right now, Mississippi State's going to need a miracle. And that means winning the SEC tournament. I cannot see a path to an at-large bid. I mean, even if you sweep the final two series, and that's probably the only thing that could even get you back in the conversation is if you sweep. Because that would get you right there to 500. But the reality of it is based on the teams that we're going to be playing the next two weekends, chances of us sweeping anybody are pretty slim. We talked last week. I thought we'd win the series. I didn't think we'd sweep. Were we capable of sweeping? I thought probably yes. But I think after watching those two teams play this weekend, we are two teams this year going in two different directions. And Florida, we knew they would be talented. They weren't picked to win the SEC by many people just on an accident. They have not played up to their potential, but we certainly haven't. And I really thought when you get down to it, they looked more talented than us. They had some guys who could get clutch hits. We didn't. They owned the ninth inning. That's what great teams do. That's what good teams do. That's what really good teams do. Mediocre teams kind of hope the other team loses the game rather than them going out and winning the game. And sometimes that's kind of how it's been for us this year. We've kind of needed some help from the other team in order to win a game. I'm not going to sit here and have a funeral procession. I'm not going to sit here and be all down in the mouth. But like all of you, I'm very disappointed. It's been a very disappointing year. And you can say, hey, listen, the bullpen hadn't been there. We knew that it was going to be a challenge in the bullpen from the very beginning of the year. And some would say, well, Steve, we shouldn't have moved Landon Sims in the bullpen to the starting role. That's easy to say. It is. He was recruited with the understanding that at some point he'd have the opportunity to be a starter. This is what he wanted. And there's no guarantee of when it's going to happen. We want to sit here and blame the injury on the fact that he was a starter, and that's just, there's no science to support that. I know it's an easy talking point because you say, well, the bullpen was so much worse without him. And it's true. But sometimes you got to make a deal. You get a guy to come to school. It's a lot different in football, much different. But the reality of it is that Mississippi State Bulldogs were swept over the weekend. And we walked away on Saturday, listen, and let's be honest about this, okay? The strike zone Saturday was terrible. But that's not why we lost. That's not why we lost. It was terrible. It was. We're not going to beat anybody 1-0. It's not going to happen. We just don't have the pitching to beat somebody 1-0. I thought we did have a couple guys that really pitched well this weekend, and unfortunately we couldn't get the run support. But our injuries have been on the pitching side of things. I look back at this weekend. I see the offensive struggles as the bigger issue. We didn't close out a couple games late. But the reality of it is you make those high-stress innings because of the fact that you didn't play well offensively. And that's the thing nobody really saw this year. We really thought this would be a very offensive team. We've hit a lot of home runs, but we can't string hits together. We can't put together the big inning, again, without a little help, whether it be a walk or a hit batsman or an error. The next thing you know, somebody runs into one, it's a 2- and 3-run bomb. But we have not been the team offensively we expected to be. Now, I'm not going to sit here and rest the mantle of that disappointment on the feet of Jake Gautreaux. He is the same guy just under a year ago that we were all sweating out. Potentially he may leave us to go to Texas A&M or go be the head coach at TCU. Same dude. Same dude. But the reality of it is we have not produced the way that we had hoped. And we're paying for it. And we're going to miss June baseball for the first time since 2015, barring a miracle. Can't be there every year. But I think we still had a team capable of getting there, even with the the injuries. The offense has to kind of pick up the slack there, and we just hadn't done that. the reality of it is a disappointing year. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no way you can sugarcoat it. The Diamond Dogs have not lived up to their potential this year. Yes, we've had some adversity. That has only compounded the issue. But you look around the league, there are a lot of teams that have had some adversity and lost some big-time pitchers, including the team that just swept us. Hunter Barco was considered by many to be one of the top left-handers in this draft pool. He's done for the year. Didn't stop Florida from sweeping us. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of the show. I love Bulldog Burger Company. You will too. If you haven't been there recently, let me encourage you to go by and check them out. Some new items on the menu. The next time I go, I'm having that Nashville hot chicken sandwich. I like a chicken sandwich. Maybe we'll have that tonight. I enjoy going. I enjoy getting it to go. You know, that was one of the things, too, that I kind of learned during the quarantine. Sometimes you can get a great restaurant quality meal, go pick it up, bring it home, heat it up a little bit, have a great meal right there at home. I encourage you to work with the fine folks at Bulldog Burger Company, whether it be a night out with friends or a night out with family or perhaps a lunch date or whatever. Bulldog Burger Company has something on the menu for you at all points of the day. Bulldog Burger Company now has 3 great locations to serve you. University Drive here in Star Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, and, of course, the newest one, Lake Harbor Drive there in central Mississippi, down in the Flowood, Ridgeland area. Be sure and go check them out today. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's jump into these ball games, because there's some things that happens in these games that get you beat. They don't always show up in the box score. You know what I'm saying? There's just some things out there that happen over the course of a ball game. In the moment, don't seem like a big deal, but in hindsight, they do. So let's take this Friday game. One of the things that I've learned about baseball too is in the Southeastern Conference, you get down 6-7 runs, chances of you winning pretty slim. Pretty slim. All right, top of first. And we did not get a good version of Brandon Smith. And Brandon's been really good for us the last month. Did not have a good outing. I thought he got out there and competed and did the best he could, but he didn't have very good command. Left a couple balls up, and he paid for it. Langford takes a single on the fourth pitch of the game, then goes to second on a wild pitch. We walk Thompson. We walk Fabian, and all of a sudden, bases are loaded, nobody out. Riapelli with a single back up the middle. He had a huge weekend. Ended up being one of the SEC players of the week. Drives into 2 runs. And then Brandon kind of bore down from here. Rivera strikes out swinging. Caglione got fielder's choice there. And then Caleo reaches on a fielder's choice, and they forced a runner at second. So even though we give up bases loaded, nobody out, we give up the 2 runs there. And, again, a clutch hit. Bottom of 1, State fails to answer a 1-2-3 inning for the Bulldogs. Yeager lines out to first, hit the ball well, and James grounds out to short. Hancock grounds out to the pitcher. Very, very quick inning for them. I believe just 5 pitches. 5 pitches. All right, top of second. Halter then flies out to left. Fabian strikes out looking. So, we're 2 outs, right? Got a chance to get out of this thing, get right back in the dugout. We give up the home run to Langford. We walk Thompson. Fabian with an infield single then, and then Riapelli homers to right field, makes it 6-0. You start thinking, hey, we got a lot of ball game left, but you look up and there's 6 runs up on the board, and you begin to think about how anemic our offense has been at times, and you're going against a Friday night starter, even though he's a guy that's been moved up a day because of an injury, and you begin to kind of realize, you know what, this is not going to go well for us. Bottom of second. Again, we have a chance to answer. We don't. 1-2-3 inning. Tanner pops up to first. Hines flies out to left. And then Cumbus strikes out swinging. Top of third. Smith still in the ball game. It's kind of like a Preston Johnson deal we had up at Ole Miss, where it's like, you know what, we give up some runs early, but let's try to save some arms for the rest of the weekend. We get a 1-2-3 inning. Caglione flies out to left. Caleo grounds out to third, and Halter strikes out swinging. So we keep them off the board there. Maybe we can hold the game in place here for just a little bit and give our offense a chance to get going. Bottom of third, Bulldogs still without a hit. Clark strikes out swinging. Davis strikes out swinging. Forsythe then walks. I thought Lane Forsythe may have had the best offensive weekend of all the Bulldogs. Yeager grounds out to third. Top of 4, a little adversity here, but we're able to kind of get around it thanks to good defensive play. Fabian pops up to first. We walk Langford and walk Thompson. And that's just not Brandon. Brandon's a guy too. When he went into the starting rotation, it only allowed 2 walks all year. He nearly walked as many in this ball game as he has the entire year, he just didn't have it, and that happens sometimes in baseball. Fabian then grounds into a double play. Nice play there. And then they reviewed the play to see if he was, in fact, in contact with second base. I think this kind of boiled down to whatever the call on the field was going to stand. I just don't think there was enough evidence to overturn it. And the shot they showed, there's a little flip to second there. It does look like RJ comes off the bag, but you can't tell if he did it with possession of the baseball or not. I really thought they were going to overturn it. They didn't. And again, I think, it just boils down to not enough evidence to overturn it. So we get out of a jam there. And again, that's back-to-back zeros for Brandon Smith. Bottom of 4, James grounds out to short, and then Hancock hit the ball to left center, kind of takes it back up the middle a little bit the other way. Really hit that baseball well. That's our first hit of the ball game. Logan Tanner then flies out to center on the second pitch of his at-bat. Hines strikes out looking. So we've broken up the no-hitter, but we're no closer to kind of getting into this ball game. Top of 5, Riopelli singles up the middle. Rivera flies out to right. Caglione grounds out to the pitcher, and we're able to hold the runner there. I guess he takes second. We bring in Mikey Tepper. Tepper gives up. Kaleo singles to center field. The run comes home, makes it a 7-0 ball game. We get Halter to ground out to end the inning. Bottom of 5, State begins to strike back a little bit. Compass with a single to left. Then Clark singles back up the middle. So here we go. Throw goes in, and then we got runners at second and third, nobody out. You got to score here. Davis strikes out looking. Forsythe, again, I thought Lane had a really good weekend. Sometimes we're not able to retire the talking points. Yeah, I looked this up last week, and I was writing an article. Lane Forsythe was a $138 going into the Georgia series, and hitting just under 300 now. I think he was at 295 after Friday, maybe Saturday. But Forsythe comes up with a big hit here, takes the ball the other way, and you can tell his approach has changed. He's not trying to pull the baseball as much. He's working middle in and away. Pays off here as he singles into right field, brings in a run. And then Yeager flies out to left. Pretty good situational hitting here. You'd like to have the home run. You'd like to have the base hit. But worst case scenario, you're able to elevate a baseball here and allow the runner to tag and score. And it really wasn't very deep. Kellum Clark had to kind of get on the horse, but he scores. Now it's a 7-2 ball game, and then Cam James pops up to first base. But now even though we're still really not quote in it, we have made some things happen here offensively. We put some balls in play. 3 hits in the inning. That's one of those things we have not been able to do many times this year, is have 3 hits in an inning. All right, top of 6, Florida answers and gets one of those runs back. Fabian strikes out swinging. Langford, who was kind of a thorn in the Bulldogs' side all weekend, singles through the right side. Thompson then walks again. Langford to third on a wild pitch. Runner at first holds. Fabian pops up to first. And then who is it? It's Riopelli again. Doubles down the right field line to chase in that run. Riopelli killed us. He absolutely did. It became a bit of a convenient villain later in the ball game, or later in the weekend. I'll explain that when we get there. And then Rivera strikes out swinging. So it's an 8-2 ball game, headed to bottom of 6. Hancock again comes up, hammers the ball really hard the other way for a single. It's kind of back up the middle, but it's really more over shortstop. Line drive into left center. Then Logan Tanner singles back up the middle. So again, back-to-back base hits here to kind of get things going. And then Hunter Hines pops up to short on 3-1 count. You'd like to be able to do a little bit more on a 3-1 count or 2-0 count. But that's baseball. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Not going to be critical of Hunter Hines' play at any point. Cumbus grounds out to second. It moves the runners to second and third. Kind of works like a bunt here. And again, we just need a base hit here. If a base hit here, all of a sudden 2 runs scored. Now all of a sudden it's a different ball game. Instead, we grounded back to the pitcher, who made a really nice play there. Hit the ball pretty hard. He had to make a good play, and he did. All right, top of 7. Tepper comes out, has a pretty good inning here. Caglione, K swinging. Kaleo grounds out to third, and then Hunter walks on 4 pitches, and then we get Fabian to strike out looking. So we pitch around the walk there and kind of keep the game where it was. State makes it very interesting here in the 7th. They like to change pitchers, pull out Sproat, who was good. Aaron Downs pinch hits for Jess Davis and singles right back up the middle. Forsythe, again, singles to the right side. That's 3 at-bats and 3 times he's gotten on base. 3-0 count there, and has back-to-back Ks. We take those, and then we take a ball back to the right side. And listen, I get it. I know a lot of people say, hey, Steve, why are we taking strikes? Well, when you have an approach, when you have a game plan, it's like, okay, I'm going to go up here and push this ball to the right side. You're going to look for that pitch until you get 2 strikes. Just so happens he gets a pitch he can handle, takes it the other way. And so a nice hit for Lane. Yeager then reaches on a fielding error, hit the ball hard. Third baseman just couldn't make a play here. So the inning continues. Now all of a sudden you got bases loaded with nobody out. Cam James reaches on a fielder's choice. They forced a runner at second, can't turn 2. The run scores, makes it 8-3. So that's 4 consecutive Bulldogs put the ball in play. We get a run home. Still have an opportunity here to make this a big inning. Cam still second to give us runners at second and third with less than 2 outs. And Hancock grounds to third. The run scores, makes it 8-4. And then big 2-out hit comes up. Logan Tanner singles back up the box. Cam James scores. Now it's an 8-5 ball game. Now you start thinking, as bad as this game has gone, we're just down 3. We still got 2 more innings to play. Can we score 3-4 runs in the last 2 innings? Yeah, we absolutely can. We don't, but all of a sudden, you begin to kind of manage a ball game and you realize, hey, we let this thing get away from us earlier, but we still have a chance. They changed pitchers and bring in Abner in place of Purnell. Purnell did not last but 2/3 of an inning. Of course, defense didn't help him, but he didn't help himself. I mean, every Bulldog that faced Purnell put the ball in play. And then Abner comes in and gets Hines to strike out looking. Our 2-strike approach sometimes is lacking. Sometimes it is. And again, strike zones are a moving target these days. But anything close, you learn that young. Got to try to spoil a pitch. All right, top of 8. We make a few changes here. Davis comes out of the game. Downs stays in to play left. Compass goes over to center. Jackson Fristow came in, and I thought this may have been Jackson Fristow's best outing of the year. I thought Jackson was outstanding here. So we get Langford to ground out to third, and then Thompson reaches on a fielding error by the third baseman. Rather than fold, Fristow bears down. We get Fabian to strike out swinging. We do give up a stolen base here. And then we have a pass ball, and the runner moves up. We walk Riapelli, and then we get another ground ball, and we get out of it. So even though we had some self-inflicted wounds here, Fristow stood tall and didn't let anybody score. Bottom of 8, they changed pitchers again, bring in Ficarata. And then Cumbest singles through to third baseman, hit the ball really hard. Clark then grounds out to the pitcher, works basically as a bunt. And again, it's 2-0 count there. It's 2-0 count, and again, you're facing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Sometimes you got to make a late adjustment. But we need to be a little more authoritative when we get advantage counts. But Clark grounds to the pitcher, basically works like a bunt. Downs then walks, and then Forsythe walks. Now the bases are loaded with less than 2 outs. You have a chance. This is what we talk about. We've been down 3 runs. Well, now all 3 runs are on base. A couple base hits here. It's a tie ball game. All right, so Yeager then grounds out to short on the second pitch of the AB. Run scores, makes it 8-6. You still got a couple guys on here, and then Cam James, very first pitch of the AB, flies out to right field, and that's the inning. And so while it was a good inning for us from an offensive approach point to load the bases, I didn't think our approach once we loaded them was very good. When you've got a guy that's had back-to-back walks, just think about this. So he struggled to throw strikes to Cumbest, who gets a single on a 3-1 count. Clark goes 2-0. Downs goes on 4 pitches. Forsythe, it's a 5-pitch walk. And so why are we being so aggressive early in the count? When you've got a guy that looks like he might even walk the ballpark, why would we be so aggressive? And this is Slater I'm talking about. Slater came in place of Figueroa. And 8 of his first 9 pitches are balls, and then we're swinging early in the count. I thought it was a mistake. And you got guys who say, some guys you green light, Steve, and that's true. But in late game situations like this, when you've got a guy that is struggling to find the strike zone, you can't help him. And we did. We helped him here, and we basically kind of out-aggressived our way into the defensive side of things. This to me, I thought this is really when the game was won or lost. This bottom of the eighth. 2 runs. Two outs, and we have the bases loaded, and we're only able to get 1 run home. Less than 2 outs, bases loaded, and you have 1-2 in the order coming up. You got to come through here. You simply have to come through here. That's the difference in winning and losing. It's not the Boy Scouts. We can't just sit here and say, well, yeah, they're doing their best, which is true, and I believe that. But this is not winning baseball. This is what gets you beat. When you have a pitcher on the ropes late in the ball game, the crowd's in the game, and the crowd that was there was very, very boisterous. And after back-to-back walks, it takes them 3 pitches to get out of the inning. And we leave a couple guys on base. Could have made the difference. Top of 9, Jackson Fristow absolutely blowing the doors off here. Caglione, K-swinging. Caleo, K-swinging. Halter, K-swinging. The movement on his fastball, to me, looked to be really good in this outing. And again, in the 8th, we face some adversity. We don't let it beat us, and we come back in the 9th, and we absolutely got some incredibly awkward swings. That's one thing about Jackson, too. Sometimes people barrel him up. Sometimes he's able to throw a fastball by him. I thought he had good movement on the breaking ball and good sink on the fastball, because if you can stomach it, go back and watch that sequence. I know you don't want to go back on a DVR and watch losing ball games. Those were very awkward swings by Florida hitters. I mean, it looked like if you'd pulled somebody out of the stands. I mean, Jackson really made them look bad. Bottom of 9, we have a chance, again, 2 runs down. Hancock flies out to right center. Tanner pops up to second. Hines keeps it going. Hammers the ball to right center for a single. So now the tying run comes to the plate, and then Brad Cumbus grounds out to first unassisted. So again, you begin to look at all this. We had chances throughout the ball game, but when we finally got in the bullpen, we were able to get going offensively. Unfortunately, by that time, the hole was too deep. But despite all that, you had an opportunity there in the bottom of 8. And you just couldn't get it done. You simply couldn't get it done. And so that's a loss right out of the game. Bulldog fans, if you drive around this great country, you'll see that there is still very much a shortage of quality employees. America's workforce is not back to its full capacity. Not exactly sure for all the reasons, but bottom line is some of my favorite businesses having a reduction in staff, a reduction in hours, and in some cases a reduction in services because they can't find quality applicants. Maybe you're in that situation. Let me recommend our friends at Indeed. It's INDEED.com. Indeed, a hiring partner that can help you find the applicants that best fit your unique skill set. A lot of people out there having to hire people perhaps that aren't the most qualified or perhaps aren't prepared for that job just to have somebody. Go through this screening process with Indeed by using this Instant Match program. One of the best things about that Instant Match program is you get the people that best qualify for your job. And there's some incentive for that too. Go to Indeed.com/Boneyard, and because you're a Boneyard listener, they're going to give you $75 off. They'll give you a credit right there out of the gate. And you only pay for the applicants and the resumes that you use. Use it today. Get your business back to full staffing capacity at Indeed.com/Boneyard. Hey, Bulldog fans, do you enjoy celebrating? There's always something to celebrate, whether it be a big win from our Bulldogs or perhaps a major life event in someone you care about, whether it be a friend or family having a baby or getting married or getting a promotion or moving to a new home. Maybe you're looking for that perfect housewarming gift. Maybe you just want to celebrate yourself keeping the couch warm and staying out of trouble, right? It's no easy feat, especially if it's a big couch. Maybe you just want to celebrate living in 2022, where you can get beer, wine, and spirits delivered from Drizzly in under 60 minutes without even leaving your house. Right now, Drizzly is giving all new customers $5 off their first order with code FAST5. That's F-A-S-T, the number 5, FAST5. So download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. And use promo code FAST5 for $5 off of your first order. Drizzly is the #1 app for alcohol delivery. It's the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits. We deliver to your doorstep in under 60 minutes. It's quite the service there. So just check it out today. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. Again, that's DRIZLY.com. And use promo code FAST5. That's FAST and the number 5. Gate. All right, let's take a look at game number 2. This one's another one that'll get next to you a little bit too. It's one of those ones, it's one of those ones. To borrow a line from Tech 9. It's one of those ones. You look at this one, you begin to think this is one we let get away, and once we let it get away, it really got away from us. And I thought State really competed hard in this ball game. I really do. And things went awry for us late. But Florida did what postseason teams do. When the game was on the line, they made the plays. We didn't. Langford, again, a burr in the Bulldogs saddle, opens up against Preston Johnson with a double to center. We walk Thompson. Seemed like that was the case all weekend, right? Fabian then walks. Now they have bases loaded, nobody out. And you start thinking, is this going to be a repeat of last week? Are we going to be able to get out of this thing? Riapelli flies out to left. The runner tags and scores, and we get back-to-back punch-outs. So while we got ourselves in some trouble, self-inflicted trouble, to only give up one here was huge. And that's a tribute to Preston Johnson. Yes, he's the guy that walked those guys, but he stood pretty tall there against 4, 5, and 6 in that order and wouldn't allow more than a one run. State answers in the bottom of 1. Yeager walks. Cam then strikes out swinging, but in that at bat, Yeager takes second on a wild pitch. Luke Hancock then singles back up the box. Yeager goes to third. So now runners at first and third with less than 2 outs. Logan Tanner comes through with a clutch hit, singles back up the box to tie the game at 1. So now all of a sudden you got runners at first and second. The game is tied. Just need that one more big base hit. Usually when you get 3 hits in an inning, it's usually a really good inning. Hines strikes out swinging on 3 pitches, and then Cummus grounds out to third. Brad's pulling a lot. And I don't know if that's just because of how we're pitching or how they're pitching him, but he's not really getting middle anymore. Everything is a yank. And you do want him to pull the ball big and strong as he is. But a lot of ground outs at third these days. All right, top of second. Preston, really good inning after the first. You get a K swinging on 3 pitches. We do walk Halter on 4 pitches. And Evans grounds to third. And then Langford grounds out to short. So we pitch around the 1 walk there and don't give him anything. It's a tie ball game. Bottom of second. Not a good inning for us. Kellum strikes out looking, Down strikes out looking, and then Forsythe strikes out swinging. So 3 straight punchies there for Florida. At this point, you kind of felt like, these guys may settle in. Top of third for Florida. Thompson singles back up the middle. Fabian then on a fielder's choice. We forced the runner at second, can't turn 2. Riapelli doubles down the line to put runners at second and third. This could have been a folding moment for Preston Johnson. Because, hey, this is going to be tough. We need a non-productive out here. We get it. He gets Caglione to strike out swinging on 4 pitches. Really, 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 really good development there. And then we get a ground out to the pitcher from Rivera on an 0-2 count. So despite the fact that they got a couple guys in scoring position, we did a good job pitching. It's funny how that works, right? We need the clutch hit. They needed the clutch hit. They couldn't get it, at least not yet. All right, bottom of third. State was in traffic on the bases in this inning too. Yeager flies out to right center, and then Cam James walks. Hancock strikes out looking. Cam still second. So again, a runner in scoring position. Base hit here will give us the lead. Tanner flies out to right field to end the inning. All right, top of 4. Preston still kind of hanging in here, working hard. Again, it's a 1-1 ball game, and you go back and think about how eventful that first inning could have been. And here we are, locked into a pitcher's duel. Kaleo flies out to short right. R.J. Yeager runs that down. Then Halter singles to left. Evans gets struck out swinging, and then there is the old-fashioned strike him out, throw him out. Halter out at second. That's one thing about Logan Tanner. You would think people have learned by now. All right, bottom of 4. State gets a leadoff runner on here. We end up taking the lead this inning. Hines walks. Really lengthy at bat here, too. Got ahead 2-0. and then work the count full, gets the walk here. And then Brad Cumbus grounds out to third, but fortunately, they're not able to turn two. Hines takes second, so it works like a bunt. And then Kellum Clark pulls the ball inside the bag at first, down the right field line, rattles around the corner there, and Hines is able to score, make it a 2-1 ball game. At this point, hopes were high. Aaron Downs then pops up to short. Clark ends up at third on a wild pitch, and Forsythe K swinging. You know, we talk about Forsythe, you know, having a good weekend. There were a couple times, too, he came up, big situations didn't come true. This is one of them. All right, 2-1 ball game after 4. And you think, okay, Preston, maybe give us one more. You know, maybe we can get one more out of Preston. Pitch count was really becoming a concern at this point. And Langford again, what a great leadoff hitter he is for Florida. Langford singles back up the middle on an 0-2 count, gets catch too much at the plate there. Thompson walks again. Now it's runners at first and second. Rather than quit, Preston gets Fabian to K looking and Riapelli to strike out looking. So now we're a pitch away from getting out of it. Unfortunately, the next pitch we throw is doubled in left center and 2 runs scored to give Florida a 3-2 lead. Rivera walks and then Caleo grounds out to third. Man, Caleo's had a tough year. Disappointing year for them. Bottom of 5, State now trailing a run. Yeager doubles down the left field line, so here we go. Here we go. Cam walks. Now it's runners at first and second. They bring in Abner in place of Neely. And then Hancock, a little bit unlucky here, grounds into the double play. And then Tanner lines out to short. And so, again, here we are with the tying run on base with 2, 3, 4 coming up, and we can't even get the ball out of the infield. Not good. Not good baseball. All right, Pico Khan comes in. And so he gets 1, 2, 3 inning. Halter grounds out to second, Evans grounds out to third, and Langford grounds out to short. Getting Langford out is no small duty, to say the least. That guy was hot. All right, bottom of 6. Again, State with a chance here. Hines singles up the middle after a lengthy at bat. Then Cumbus is hit by the pitch. Now we got runners at first and second. This is where I wish we had more guys that could bunt. Not that you'd ask Kellum Clark to bunt. You'd rather him hit a 3-run homer. But he strikes out swinging. They make a pitching change here, bring in Fisher Jameson. He gets downs on a fielder's choice. Cumbus is forced at second. Now you've got runners on first and third, and then Forsythe grounds out to second. So, again, we get a runner in scoring position with no outs, and we can't get a guy home. All right, top of 7. Thompson strikes out swinging. Fabian walks. Riapelli reaches on a fielder's choice. We do force the runner at second. Couldn't turn the double play, but we get Caglione to strike out swinging. Just thinking, you know what? We got a shot here. We got a shot. Bottom of 7. Yeager doubles down the left field line. So here we go again. Runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Cam James then singles through the right side, and Yeager had to see it through. You know, like I had a couple people text me and said, well, Steve, how come he didn't score there? Well, it was a line drive. What's the first thing you're taught in Little League? We're going to freeze on a line drive. Halfway on a fly ball. Hold. You know, it's like there's just so much that happens in baseball. But so he stops at third. It doesn't cost us, though. Again, Luke hits the ball really hard. It's a double play. The run scores. It's a tie ball game. But, again, chance for us to have a bigger inning. We don't. LT then singles to the right side. Just makes that at-bat kind of compounded the issue with the double play. I mean, even the sac fly works. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, LT singles to the right side, and then Hines walks. And so, again, you know, Bulldogs putting the ball in play here, putting themselves in a good situation to score some runs, and having a tough time. You know, having a tough time making things happen here. But, you know, they change pitchers. Cumbus then walks. Now the bases are loaded again. You know, base hit here, probably the difference in winning and losing the ball game. We line out to right. Kellum Clark does. Now it's a 3-3 ball game. We've tied the game, but again, this should have been a much bigger inning for us. It wasn't. Top of 8, we bring in Casey Hunt. Casey gets Rivera to strike out swinging. Caleo lines out to left. Then Hunter walks. Evans and singles up the middle, and you think, oh my, here it is. But no. Langford then grounds out to RJ, and we're out of the inning. Bottom of 8, Downs, Forsythe, Yeager come up. They go 1, 2, 3. Downs strikes out swinging. Forsythe lines out at second, hit the ball really well, just right at somebody. And then Yeager strikes out looking, or maybe that Forsythe one. That's the one that was kind of a dying quail. Now that I think about it, and Yeager strikes out looking. So, going to the ninth, you think, okay, let's get these guys out, and then we'll have 2, 3, 4 coming up. Maybe we can push across a run and go home happy. Well, Florida made sure that didn't happen. Thompson singles to third base, and it was going to be a bang play, and the throw's a little bit high, pulls Luke off the bag, and it always seems like whenever the first guy reaches, like he scores 765,000% of the time. Fabian strikes out looking, then Riapelli walks. Now all of a sudden, a go-ahead run is in scoring position. Now they issued an official warning here to Riapelli, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. A lot of you were a little bit confused about what happened. And so here is what I'm told. Let's just call this by a well-placed source. One of our fans was chirping with Riapelli about staying in the box, get in the box, get in the box, get in the box, get in the box. And after he walked, Riapelli said something to our fan who was seated near our dugout. Now, I think it may have been misconstrued that it was towards our dugout. Well, the next thing you know, he and KC start chirping at each other. And then Lemonis comes out, and the officials get involved. So an official warning given to Riapelli. I think it's much ado about nothing. You throw the guy out or you don't. The warnings, it doesn't mean anything to me. Caglione then doubles to left, chases home a run. We walk Rivera to set up a double play, and then Caleo, probably the biggest hit of the weekend for him, doubles down the right field line to score 2. Now it's a 6-3 ball game, and I think we all knew at this point the game was over. Halter reaches out and taps one out there for fielder's choice, and they review this. So Lane makes a really nice play. We go home with it. I didn't think it was even close, and the replay showed that it really wasn't. A great throw and then great job by LT around the plate there to get a good tag in. And so he's gunned down, and then we give up a home run to Evans, a 3-run bomb that kind of removes all doubt. We walk Langford. We pull Hunt for Cheatham. KC just kind of fell apart there in the ninth. And that's just that's uncharacteristic of him. But I think all of the stress of everything began to kind of weigh on him a little bit. And it's like, you look back, with all the stuff that happened with Riapelli, it's still a 3-3 ball game. It is still a 3-3 game. We roll up a ground ball here, we're out of the inning. That's not what happens. I think the emotions kind of got to him. And again, that's just my opinion. I didn't think his body language was that great after that, and I thought he kind of overthrew a little bit, and Florida took advantage. We bring in Cole Cheatham, who gets a strikeout looking to kind of, get us out of the damage there. But, the game is over. Bottom of 9, we go 1, 2, 3. Cam James flies out to right. Hancock pops up to third. Tanner grounds out to second. And those are 3 guys that should be carrying us. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I'm not going to sit here and be critical of them, but I'm going to call it as I see it. In times of adversity, you depend on your veterans, and we need those guys to play like veterans. And you forget sometimes these guys have only had a couple years of baseball, but the reality of it is that's the case for all-star players most years. After 2 or 3 years of baseball, they're done. And some of these guys were freshmen back in 2020. That year didn't count, so they've got basically 2.5 years, of baseball. And so we need those guys to come through. And that's kind of been the case all year. It's like we kind of go as those 3 go. But, listen, the home plate umpire was atrocious. And, sometimes I'll ask, where was the pitch, whatever, I finally stopped counting on this one. Because usually, to be honest with you guys, it's probably only 3 or 4 pitches that, I disagree with over the course of the ball game. And that's a great ratio. Once we got in double digits for this one, I quit even trying to keep up with it. But so Florida takes the series. And at this point, we're just hoping we could salvage a game. And I think all of us kind of felt the same way, thinking, we're in a bad shape here. We're in a really bad spot here to find a way to salvage something from the weekend. And we get nothing and have to find a way to like it. But before we get to breaking down Game 3, we're going to do our top 10 list, brought to you by closewithblair.com. And you can find all the information you need to refinance your current mortgage or perhaps get a mortgage for the first time by dealing with a mortgage professional like Blair Chandler. A lot of people out there competing for your business. Blair is a guy that has earned your business. 21 years in the industry, top 1 close percent, top 1% close ratio in the country. Works for Fairway Mortgage, recently voted number one in customer satisfaction. So you get the best guy working for the best company working for you. You know, interest rates are on the rise, and so you probably need to make a decision sooner rather than later about this. Many Americans today living paycheck to paycheck because of some revolving debt. Maybe you've run up your credit cards. Maybe during the quarantine you had to live, right? So, you know, you bought groceries and that kind of stuff just to use a shortfall solution. And now you're in a situation where perhaps you're overextended. Get that equity working for you. Consolidate that debt down to one low monthly payment. Give Blair a call today at 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. Visit him today at closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. And here's the deal. Mention to him you heard about it on the Boneyard, and he'll pay for your appraisal. How about that? That's about a $500 value, some money you can save right out of the gate. And you probably don't have that money to spend, right? So work with a guy like Blair Chandler, the Blair Chandler at closewithblair.com. All right, top 10 albums. We're doing that on Mondays. We did country on Friday, Carrie Underwood. You guys appeared to like that list. I was expecting to get more blowback than we did, but not a lot of complaints about the Carrie Underwood list. And I think it's because the depth of her catalog is very, very good. And so we're going to get to a band very different than Carrie Underwood. Very, very, very different. In many respects, considered kind of the fathers of nu metal. We're talking Korn. When I go to shows, sometimes a lot of people think I'm in Korn. Sometimes I wear a Korn shirt. And I don't think I've ever seen Jonathan Davis wear a Korn shirt, but people think I'm Jonathan Davis, and which I find very flattering because I like Jonathan Davis. Funny story, I was in South Carolina. I think I've shared it with you guys before, but if not, let's do it again. I'm at South Carolina last year covering baseball, and hanging around the hotel, watching some college baseball, go down to the lobby to get some snacks, or maybe even breakfast. I don't know what it was, but I saw this guy kind of waiting around at the elevator. Kind of waiting around, could have got on, he didn't. So I get my plate, and he jumps on with me. Elevator door closes. He goes, "Hey, man, I always wanted to meet you. I have all of your albums." Well, I don't have any. So, but thanks. Friends of mine said, "Steve, you should have just let him believe it." Yeah, like Jonathan Davis is going to be hanging out at the Holiday Inn Express there in Columbia, South Carolina. But nevertheless, I love Korn. I like to eat it. I like to listen to it. I've been to see them live multiple times. They always put on a killer show. Incredible professionals. Been doing it for a long time. And the thing about Korn, too, is they're still producing great music. There were a lot of bands from the early 90s that are out. And Korn's debut album was released in 1994, 2 times platinum. And ever since then, Korn has kind of been a mainstay. I don't know that people listen to heavy music as much anymore, but Korn has released some great albums that obviously not getting the sales they once were, but still charting really, really well. So let's break it down. They have a new album that was released a couple months ago called Requiem. I'm not quite as familiar with that album, so I didn't include that in our list. But if you were a longtime Korn fan, maybe go out and check that album out. I also did not include Korn 3, Remember Who You Are, which is kind of a return to kind of the basics. And it was really the last album that they had put out without Brian Head Welch. Brian had returned to the band, and Ray Luzier had joined the band. And so it was this was the first album with Ray. I just didn't get the album, and that's not necessarily a criticism of Ray or anything like that. But I just didn't think the album had the same Korn sound. They went back and kind of unpacked a little bit and kind of tuned back to maybe the beginning, and Let the Guilt Go and Oildale were both radio play songs. But I just didn't think the album worked well, and I think them bringing Head back was good, not only for Brian Head Welch but also for Korn. And I think it brought some real excitement back to the band. But Korn 3, not on our list today. So number 10 is the 2019 album, The Nothing. That's another one where Head is now back with the band. I think there's a lot of depth to this album, and Korn has so many great albums. Sometimes it's difficult to rank them. But, this is one that had a lot of great airplay. I guess rose as high as maybe 17, on the charts. Maybe that's right. On the hard rock charts, it might have done a little bit better than that. But be that as it may, I really dug it. You'll Never Find Me is your number 10 song. You'll Never Find Me, which was the lead single off the album The Nothing. All right, number 9 is one of the albums without Brian Head Welch. It's See You on the Other Side. This is when they were still with Virgin Records. I liked the album, but I felt like something was missing because Head wasn't in the band. I mean, Monkey does a good job kind of playing both parts, but it's just not the same. Twisted Transistor was a huge hit off this album, but the song we're going with is my favorite song from the album. It's Coming Undone. And they actually did a bonus version with the Franchise Boys with Lean With It, Rock With It, which was really cool. You can't hardly find it. It's out there on YouTube, but it's not on any of the streaming services that I found. But really cool album. Love that album cover, too. The art is remarkable. But again, See You on the Other Side, Coming Undone, number 9. Number 8, going back to the second album, Life is Peachy. And I got to see him play, I guess, in 2016. And 20 years since that album been released. Now we're celebrating the 25-year anniversary of that album. I like the album a lot. I do think they were still kind of finding their sound. I think the first album, of course, you get your whole life to write your first album. I didn't think it was necessarily a sophomore slump, but I didn't think maybe it held up to some of the other stuff. But on this one, we're going to go, we could go on with Adidas here, but we didn't. It's a family show. So we're going to go with Twist, which is kind of a Korn fan standard. It's on the Greatest Hits album too, but not a big radio. Twist was an intro, and it's only 49 seconds long, but it kind of leads you into the album, and I know that it is a shorter song, but I like the fact that there's a lot of cool stuff on this one. No Place to Hide is kind of a high point on this one too, but we're going to go with Twist. Again, that is basically kind of a refrain and an intro, but I love Jonathan on that one. I think he's really good. Number 7, one of the more recent releases, and the second album after Brian Head Welch returned to the band, and it's The Serenity of Suffering. I don't think there's a bad song on this album. This is one of those albums you can just kind of push play and let it go. The song we went with was Riding in Vain, which is your number 7 song. Riding in Vain, got a little scat action on there too, kind of reminds you of Twist a little bit. Black is the Soul, had a lot of great radio airplay too, but Riding in Vain to me is the high point on this album. And I think the guitar work on it is very reminiscent of Korn in their heyday. All right, number 6, The Path of Totality. It's the first album after Head rejoined the band. Excuse me, that's not correct. That was the Paradigm Shift. We'll get that a little bit later. So The Path of Totality is an album that was basically kind of a music album. They work with Kill the Noise and a few other people out there, Skrillex among others, that kind of took the traditional Korn sound and then added a real incredible bass line to it. I absolutely love the album. A lot of traditional Korn fans didn't like it. I like seeing them go in a different direction. There's just so much on this album that I like. Way Too Far, I think, is phenomenal. Absolutely love that one. I think that should have been a bigger hit. Chaos Lives in Everything is great. Get Up was the first single off this album, but my favorite song on this album is Narcissistic Cannibal with Skrillex and Kill the Noise. I think it is absolutely remarkable. And if you're in the car, maybe turn it up a little bit. I think you'll enjoy that a great deal. Narcissistic Cannibal from The Path of Totality. All right, number 5 is The Untouchables. And again, this is when the band was kind of in transition a little bit too. So much was kind of happening with the band, and there was so many people that were, trying to suggest that maybe that this style of music was moving on. David Silveri was still the drummer in the band, and I think this is probably not as acclaimed as it should be. This is another one of those, I think you can kind of just let it go. Thoughtless is great. Alone I Break is one that fans absolutely love. My favorite track was actually a radio single too. It's Here to Stay. I absolutely love Jonathan's vocal on this. I like how in your face it is. So that's your number 5 song off the Untouchables album. It's Here to Stay. Number 4, The Paradigm Shift. And yes, this is the album when Brian Head Welch returned to the band. Nothing made me happier than hearing this album for the first time because of the guitar work on it. Hearing Head and Monkey reunited. Didn't think it ever happened. Head had left the band, and put together a Christian rock band called Love and Death, and had done some stuff with Red and some other Christian rock bands. Played and performed at the Dove Music Awards a couple times. Head's a believer. That's one of the reasons he left Korn, was to kind of get sober and find some foundation in his faith. He's back with the band, still a man of faith, still leads prayer. I've got some friends of mine that snuck backstage at Korn, and before they left, Head wanted to pray with them so they'd have a safe journey home. So it's not just something that's part of a press release, something like that. But I love this album too. Spike in My Veins was huge. Never Never was a big one for them as well. Lullaby for a Sadist is a high point too. That's a little deeper track I think you'll like. What We Do is great. I mean, there's just so many great ones on here, but I went with Pray For Me. I love that one. I love the vocal on it. I love I love the back vocals on it too. Love and Math is a great one too, but I went with Pray For Me is your number 4 song. Number 3, back to the debut album, and I think one of the reasons this one holds such nostalgia for me is just because it was unlike anything else that was out at the time. And again, it goes 2 times platinum, and only hit 72 on the U.S. charts, but around the world actually did much better. I think some of this, too, is because people just weren't quite sure how to label Korn. But this crazy cover with the little girl sitting on a swing set, I mean, and Jonathan Davis's guy's been very open about the trauma and abuse he suffered in his life, and so a lot of this album is kind of featured around that. So many great songs on this album. Helmet in the Bush is one that Love and Death covered when they were on the road. It's one that Brian Head Welch had written. Chutes and Ladders is the one that maybe you're familiar with, where they basically sing a bunch of nursery rhymes. Clown is a fan favorite, as is Ball Tongue, but I went with Blind. Blind, number 3, off the debut album, Korn. Number 2, and this is one that I think is just absolutely phenomenal. Released in 1999, when music was changing, Korn was staying true to themselves. This is when I really feel like Korn was in their wheelhouse. Again, another album you can just kind of let it go. A lot of big hits on MTV at the time. They were still playing some music kind of around hair care commercials and the real world. Somebody, Someone is great. It's gonna go away is great. Make Me Bad is phenomenal. But I went with Falling Away From Me. I think that is one of the quintessential Korn songs, Falling Away From Me. I think Korn had Head and Monkey probably at their absolute best on this album. Now, to me, the album that's going to be number 1 is, I think, we talk about the totality of the catalog. If I was going to get somebody into Korn, this is where I would start. I would hand them this CD and say, listen, this is it. Go listen to this. If you don't like this, you're probably not going to like the rest of it. But it's Follow the Leader. I think Follow the Leader is an iconic album for this generation. And again, things were changing in music, and I thought Korn was really at the top of that wave. Whether it be Children of the Corn that featured Ice Cube, or even All in the Family with Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit. Justin is another great one. It's a deeper track that maybe doesn't get enough airplay. Got the Life is a phenomenal song and video, and this is one of those things too where Jonathan Davis is kind of revealing some of his pain for us. But number 1 on the list, and I think probably the best Korn song of all time. The one, if you mention Korn, this is a song that always comes to mind. It's Freak on a Leash, and how else could it be anything else? But again, Follow the Leader, I think the best Korn album, and Freak on a Leash, without a doubt, one of the best songs of that decade and probably of this generation when it comes to this brand of music. So that's your top 10 Korn albums. We're back on Wednesday with something completely different. And if you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let me know. I'm happy to do them. Best bet is to find Roy on Twitter at Dogmatic. That's DAWGMATIC 67, Dogmatic 67 on Twitter. And while you're searching for these lists, look for them also on Spotify under Dogmatic 67, and maybe give Roy a follow. Make it a little easier for you. I appreciate Roy for what he does. And Izzy Mandelbaum helps us out a little bit sometimes on Apple Music. So it's always great to be able to get the music with you guys and talk a little music to give us an opportunity to kind of talk about some different things on the show. So there you go, your top 10 Korn albums, brought to you by your friends at closeofblair.com. I was remiss in my dismay earlier. We did not award the Prime Shrimp Player of the Weekend, and so we're going to do that now. I'm going to give it to Lane Forsythe. I absolutely am going to give it to Lane. I thought it was not a great weekend offensively, but I thought Lane did have some big hits for us, and I thought Lane did a good job kind of moving the lineup forward and giving R.J. Yeager a chance to hit, with a pitcher in the stretch. And Lane's now hitting 284. I mentioned he was up to 295 after the Friday game. But over the weekend he goes 3 for 9 on the weekend. Also had a walk, but had a nice RBI as well. But I think Lane is really beginning to kind of mature before our eyes. I mentioned to you guys he was hitting $138. We went to Georgia. He actually dipped down to 133 that weekend. And ever since then, it's kind of been a steady climb. The guy's doing a better job. He's getting better. I look at this thing, too. You begin to think about last year. I mean, Lane's got 27 hits this year. 27. Now, kind of looking at that in some hindsight here, doing some comparative work, just because I think it's important for us to be, mindful of where we are and where from which we've come. When I look at Lane Forsythe's numbers last year, and he wasn't a guy, too, that, played quite as much, but he had 58 starts last year. He's got right around 30 this year. He played more games last year, but he had 43 hits last year, and he has a chance to be close to that this year and a lot less at-bats. That's the thing. Last year he had 186 at-bats. This year, not quite as many opportunities. Kind of got his numbers pulled up right here. Yeah, 95 at-bats. And so he has almost half the at-bats and within striking distance, I guess, of last year's hit total. And so, again, I think the competition's been good for him. So let's thank our friends at primeshrimp.com. I had some over the weekend, too. I can keep going back to this French Quarter Alfredo. I like it all, but I like the fact that all I've got to do is warm up 2 pots instead of like 3 or 4. I don't have to go peel shrimp. I don't have to go devein shrimp. I can just drop that packet, that great pouch of shrimp with the sauce already in it, into the bowl, the boiling pot. And I've got New Orleans quality shrimp to serve right over that nice bed of fettuccine noodles. Love eating shrimp Alfredo. You can have French Quarter quality shrimp Alfredo by the end of the week. You go ahead, go to primeshrimp.com and use promo code Boneyard to save a few bucks there, and they'll send it out. It's right out. And here's the thing, too, always money-back guarantee on all orders over 4 pounds. That's not actually correct. Your money back is all the time, but free shipping over 4 pounds. But here's the deal. How many times can you go somewhere and eat or order something to eat, and then if you don't like it, you get your money back? Money-back guarantee with primeshrimp.com. Again, primeshrimp.com, promo code Boneyard. Be sure and check it out today. All right, next segment of the show, we're going to recap Game 3, and we're going to look ahead to kind of what's available for Mississippi State, kind of where we are. And I know that people are somewhat despondent at this point about the season, and I share that same level of frustration. I do. But I also understand, too, that there's a lot of guys out there playing really hard for us and never really experienced something quite like this. And so we need our leaders to stand up and lead down the stretch, and hopefully we can make something and salvage something of the season. But the reality of it is we're really so up against it now. We're really battling to get to Hoover. Now, a week ago, we didn't feel like, 2 weeks ago, we certainly didn't feel like it'd be an issue, but here we are battling to get to Hoover. This segment is show brought to you by your friends at Campus Bookmart. I love Campus Bookmart. You will too. Go by and check them out today. Go see their smiling faces, a lovely and talented Susie, of course, Miss Kathy Brown, Miss Pam Minyard, so many others there that do such a great job making you feel like you're home. You know what I'm saying? It's like you come home, and it's like one of the reasons you love Starkville is the people. It's not just Mississippi State. It's you being back around your people. Your people are working at Campus Bookmart. Be sure and go check them out. If you can't get to town, visit them on the World Wide Web, and you're supporting a local Starkville business rather than some national conglomerate that doesn't know what maroon is. Go to campusbookmart.net. Use promo code BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. All right, let's look at Game 3 here. Let's look at Game 3, much as we don't want to. And I'll be honest with you, going to the ball game yesterday, like the body language of our players wasn't great. Body language of our fans wasn't great. I mean, it's like, and I commend those who came, because I thought one of the better moments of the ball game, and even though it didn't go our way, was when our team came out to take the field. Those that were there, and yes, it's Mother's Day, so it's a commitment to come. I'm not going to be critical of those who didn't. The season's kind of gone in the tank, and the weekend's over. We're not going to be able to win the series. But those that were there were into the ball game, and I thought when the team took the field, they got a really nice ovation from our fans. And so if you were one of those fans, on behalf of the rest of the Mississippi State fan base, thank you for being there, and thank you for supporting our players and coaches. All right, so here we go. Outstanding effort from Cade Smith. Absolutely outstanding effort from Cade Smith. He deserved a win in this game. He didn't get one. Unfortunately, Pico Khan saddled with the loss. But let's look through it here. Top of first, Langford grounds out to second. We walk Thompson. Man, that Thompson kid, that guy's got a great eye. He really does. Fabian strikes out swinging, then Riapelli strikes out swinging, and it was a lengthy at bat, and we finally get him, and the crowd really exploded after that incident he had on Saturday with one of our fans. I think a lot of people thought it was our dugout, but be that as it may, he had a lot of heat, to say the least, coming out on Duty Noble Field on Sunday. All right, bottom of the first, State gets an early lead. Yeager flies out to center, and James strikes out looking. So we get a little two-out rally going here. Hancock, again, work in the middle of the field, hammers one back up the middle, and then LT walks. Now you've got runner in scoring position with two outs, and Hunter Hines skies a pop-up that gets lost in the sun. You know how those Sunday afternoon games are in May. And sure enough, it drops between those guys, and the run scores. They kind of gift us a run there, but we'll take it. And then they pick off Hunter Hines, catcher to first. Now these are the plays, too, we talk about. And I'm not going to pick on Hunter Hines, but, you're the trail runner here. Where are you going? You know what I'm saying? It's like, and he'll tell you, got a little too far off the bag. You got a good catcher behind the plate at Florida, and they got him, and he was out. They replayed it, and it looked like a bang-bang play, and I know you guys see the replay in stadium, and you think he's back in, but the replay that we saw in the booth, there wasn't enough to overturn it. And I thought, again, the call was going to stand. But the reality of it is, you get a good secondary, but you can't get too aggressive out there. We pay for it here. It ends the inning. What's to say, Brad Cumbus doesn't hit a 3-run bomb there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you basically take the bat out of his hands. So that's not good baseball. And not that, again, going to be critical of Hunter Hines, but that wasn't a great play. It wasn't. All right, top of second, Caglione singles up the middle, and then Evans doubles down the line. Runners at second and third, and you start thinking, oh, here it goes. But Cade buckles down. 2 runners in scoring position, nobody out. We get a line out to the second baseman. We weren't able to double anybody off, but the ball was hit pretty well. Great play by RJ. Then Rivera grounds to short, and a runner from third scores, and then we get Halter to ground out to first. So we get out of that, just allowing the 1 run. And I'm sure the Florida fans are lighting up their message board saying, hey, we got to get the clutch hit. Great pitching by Cade. All right, bottom of second, Cumbus strikes out swinging. Then Clark strikes out swinging. Jess Davis comes through, singling down the line. Really just kind of hit a hot shot toward first. He couldn't come up with it. And he's playing behind the bag there in big infield. And just kind of took a funny hop and went in the bullpen there. And then Davis is out stealing on the next play. And I thought he was safe. And I know these umpires, on a Sunday game don't want to review a whole lot. And we had just missed on the replay at first. I thought Jess was safe. And again, you show the in-stadium replay, it was bang-bang, but even on that replay, it looks like he got his hand in there. So I thought Hines was out. I thought Davis was safe. We don't get the benefit of a replay, inning over. All right, top of 3, Langford singles to left, and then Thompson walks again. It's crazy, man. It really is. Fabian then strikes out swinging. Riapelli singles to right field, loads the bases, and you think, okay, here it is. But no, Cade Smith says, no, not today, Jack Caglione. We roll up a ground ball and we get out of it. Again, good pitching there. And that's what's got to happen. You got to get productive outs. It's not just about throwing strikes. You got to throw, make them hit your pitch. Cade did that. Huge moment in this ball game. Bottom of third, Forsythe grounds out to second. Yeager then doubles to left center. So we've got to go ahead and run on base in scoring position with less than 2 outs. And then we don't get a productive out. Cam had a real lengthy at bat, but ends up Cade swinging, and then Luke flies out to left to end the inning. Top of 4, Evans pops up to short. Armstrong flies out to left. Rivera singles up the middle, and then there's an error on Lane Forsythe. Just went down to get it, came up with it, just couldn't glove it. But fortunately, it doesn't cost us. Langford flies out to center field to retire the side there in the top of 4. Bottom of 4. Kind of a stalemate here. Logan Tanner pops up to first. Hines pops up to first. Cumbus pops up at third. 3 pop-outs in the inning, and I think all 3 of them were on off-speed pitches. So not a good offensive inning for us. So top of 5, game still tied 1-1. Cade Smith bears down here, does a good job, 1-2-3 inning for Cade. Thompson doesn't walk this time, thank goodness. He grounds out to first. Smith covers and takes a toss there from Luke. Then Fabian strikes out swinging, and Pelly lines out at center field. It's a really efficient inning here. Good job for Cade, just kind of keeping us in there, just kind of gutting it out. Bottom of 5, Clark flies out to left. Davis flies out at center. And then, lo and behold, Lane Forsythe, our prime strength player of the weekend, doubles to left center. And it was incredible how bad the left fielder was burned here. Just took a really bad angle. I don't think he expected Lane to hit it as far as he did. Really well-struck baseball. And then Yeager flies out at center field. And again, runner in scoring position, we need that big base hit. We don't get it. Top of 6, which reminds me, too, I meant to mention this when our Game 2 recap. First 7 innings of the ball game, 6 of those 7 innings in Game 2, we stranded a runner in scoring position. Let that sink in for a second. And again, I'm not being critical. I mean, it shows you we had opportunities. We just couldn't cash in. Top of 6, again, Cade doing an outstanding work here. 1-2-3 inning. Caglione strikes out swinging. Evans strikes out swinging. Armstrong strikes out swinging. Bottom of 6, they make a pitching change, bring in Fisher Jameson. Wasn't so great on Saturday, really good on Sunday. He gets Cam to strike out looking. Hancock grounds out to first, and then Tanner flies out to right field on the very first pitch. Top of 7, Cade's still in there. Cade's still shutting people down. Rivera grounds out to short. Halter grounds out to second. Langford grounds out to third. And that's it. And you begin to think, okay, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run. That's a winning effort. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him a win. We couldn't get the run support. But I think Cade Smith's your Friday night guy based on what you've got returning. Unless somebody transfers in here that's a sure enough dude, I think Cade's your Friday night guy next year. All right, bottom of 7. Again, a chance for us to take a lead here. Hines pops up to first. Cumbus grounds out to third. Clark walks to extend the inning, and then Davis flies out to center field. Top of 8, we bring in Pico. Very first hitter he sees, Thompson, who has been a thorn in our side all weekend, in one way or another. Homers to right field, puts him up 2-1. And then you start thinking, we're going to lose this game 2-1 after the way Cade Smith's pitched. It's incredible. And then Pico gets Fabian to strike out swinging, Pelly to strike out swinging on 3 pitches. Caglione then flies out to center. But the damage is done. We're down a run here. And again, that's a 1-2 count, and we just leave a ball up and we pay for it. Bottom 8, State has a chance to answer here. Down just 2-1. Forsythe Case looking. Yeager grounds out to short, and then Cam James out to third. We're going to the 9th, just down a run, and Florida removes all doubt for the 2nd straight game in the 9th inning. Give them credit. We bring in Jackson Fristow. Evans grounds out to third. We're doing okay here. Then we walk Armstrong. They pinch run for him. Rivera then singles back up the middle. We've got a jam on our hands. We compound that by walking Halter to load the bases, and you just think at any moment the kill shot's coming. Well, here it comes. Langford, the leadoff hitter. Dangerous guy. Doubles to the right side. 2-run score makes it a 4-1 ball game, and just to remove any doubt, Thompson comes back up. Singles to the right side to drive in 2 more to make it a 6-1 game. We bring in Drew Talley. He gets Fabian to strike out swinging. And then there's the old strike him out, throw him out. To kind of get it all done there. And that is the first one of the weekend. The other one was a strikeout. And then in the next at bat, LT threw a guy out. Bottom of 9, we're down 5 here. And it's like, what I'm expecting to see, it's a bunch of selfish swings. I didn't see that. I thought even though the game was basically decided, we still went up there and competed at the plate. Luke lines out at center field, and then LT hits the home run, his first since April 3rd. That's out at Arkansas. First one in a long time at Dirty Noble Field. Hines grounds out to first. Then Cumbus gets on base on a throwing error, and you start thinking, okay. Maybe Kellum can run into one here to make it a little more interesting. But we don't. We end up flying out to left. And Kellum actually has some opposite field power. So I won't be the least bit surprised to see him start hitting home runs to all fields. And I do think there's a good chance he comes back next year. We'll see how things progress. But I think he's still got a little bit left to prove. But State loses the series, and State still with a lot left to prove. Again, very disappointing weekend. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat any of this. We can say, well, we're making progress here. We find the silver lining here. You got to win ball games. We talk about statistics, but the only statistics that matter are wins and losses. And it's so easy. We're baseball nerds, and I'm one of them. It's so easy to get caught up in all that stuff. And you say, oh, well, this guy's trending here, and this guy's doing this against lefties. At the end of the day, you got to win. Simple as that. We had some games last year we didn't play good offensively, but we found a way to win because we had a bullpen that could kind of mask days when our offense just wasn't quite there. And we talk about getting the clutch hit. I mean, how many games did we win last year? 3 or 4, 4-3, 5-4. We had a lot of those tight games last year we win because of the benefit of our bullpen. So it all kind of works hand in hand. When you know that, a guy like Landon Sims is coming in, or even a guy like Brandon Smith, last year you're kind of holding the opponent where it is, and it gives you some time to catch up. And, we're just not producing enough offense in order for us to kind of overcome what's been kind of a leaky bullpen. And again, I'm not going to get on KC or even Jackson for yesterday. I mean, the reality of it is we got to score runs. I mean, through 8 innings, we have 1 run in that game. We're not going to beat anybody 1-0. And so, a lot of this has got to go on offense. And a lot of our there's enough blame to go around, but a lot of our progress has got to be made down the stretch. It's got to come from both sides. You got to defend it well, and we've defended it pretty well the last couple months. But you got to pitch it better, and you got to get those big hits. There's no doubt about it. You absolutely have to get them. And so, again, an absolute terrible weekend for Mississippi State baseball, and really, in all intents and purposes, puts us in a situation we got to go win the SEC tournament to get in a regional somewhere. Somebody said, Steve, do we have to win it? I thought, well, yeah. What else is there? Maybe if you make it to Sunday with a combination of winning the series at A&M and Tennessee, maybe. But you can't count on that. That's the thing, too. Sometimes we've gotten help around the league and we hadn't done our part. That's the issue. We have to win games. And then the chips are going to fall where they may. But we go into a weekend where we absolutely had to win this series just to kind of stay in the conversation, and we get swept. So let's look and see what that does for us, right? Let's thank our friend Brooks Bryan. I love Brooks. Brooks is such a good dude. You will too. And Brooks is one of those guys that's part of that great group that's bringing its wonderful residential development to Starkville, Portico. Phase 1 completely sold out. Your new neighbors are here already enjoying life. But if you've always wanted a place in Starkville, look no further than Portico. Very easy to find, 1.1 miles away from the Mississippi State campus. How cool is that? And that's the quiet side of campus, which is wonderful. So you get the convenience of being close, but you're far enough away to have a little privacy and a little peace and quiet. Whether it be your ballgame weekend retreat or perhaps your primary residence, maybe even investment property, Portico has a plan for you. Reach out to Brooks at 601-416-8075, 601-416-8075. I'd love for you to be my neighbor. I would. I absolutely would love for you to be my neighbor, even though I'm going to be out in the sticks. But we could bump into each other at Walmart. We could speak and be like old friends. But we're more likely to do that if you live here. So come be a part of our great and growing community here in Starkville. Make Portico your next move. All right, let's look at the SEC standings as much as it hurts. That's what we're going to do. We're going to just shoot it straight because we are the defending NAFL champions and currently dead last in the SEC West. Absolutely dead last. Not a position we expected to be in and certainly not a position we wanted to be in. So let's take a quick look at those standings. So Tennessee, of course, loses a series this weekend in Kentucky. They are 20-4 in the conference now, but they have a 7-game lead on Georgia with 6 to play. 7. So they have clinched the SEC East. Now, they have not technically clinched the SEC regular season championship because Arkansas with the big weekends now 16-8. So they have a 4-game lead on Arkansas. So I guess the magic number in many respects, I guess, is 3? So a combination of an Arkansas loss or a Tennessee win would get those guys locked up. But Arkansas still having to kind of fight for themselves. But let's look at the East real quick here. Again, Tennessee 20-4, Georgia 13-11, Vanderbilt 12-12, Florida now 11-13. And you start looking at Florida's schedule, Florida could make a run here and potentially even get up into the top 4 and have a bye in the first round of the tournament. That what's once seemed impossible now almost seems likely. Florida, again, a very talented team. They haven't played up to their potential. Guys, they go to Missouri this weekend, and then they host South Carolina the final weekend. They'll be favored to win both of those series. I mean, and you could say, well, Steve, they might even sweep. They could, but you got to feel like they can get at least 4 wins, maybe 5. You start looking at that resume, it's like, hey, 4 wins gets them to 500 in the league. When you think about how dreadful their start was, they're going to get to Hoover and be in a good spot, and then they're going to be in a regional somewhere. They likely won't host, but they're a team now that's kind of on the cusp. You say, you know what, if these guys get hot and play deep into the tournament, they might be a host again this year. Much different circumstance. South Carolina 10-14, Kentucky now 9-15. They have come from the cellar. Got a 2-game lead now in Missouri, and of course Missouri holds a tiebreaker. But here's the thing. Right now, Missouri is the one team right now that's 14th. They're 14th in the league. And so there's a tie with us and Kentucky. I'm going to get to what that means here a little bit later. Of course, there's still 2 weekends left to play. Arkansas 16-8. LSU and A&M both 14-10 there. A&M would hold the tiebreaker of the Tigers. Auburn now 13-11 after dropping a series to Arkansas. Ole Miss now 10-14 as they win the series against Missouri. Missouri, again, I don't think Ole Miss is going to have enough juice, but it's like you start thinking about down the stretch. What if they go down to Baton Rouge and win that series? Then all of a sudden you start thinking, okay, they're not in a host, but they may play themselves into the regional. That seemed 2 weeks ago like we were all ready to laugh. Now we've basically traded spots with them. Alabama 10-14. So we're a game back of those 2 teams. And so in order for us to catch them, we're going to have some help because our schedule is just not good related to theirs. So we are tied with Kentucky for the last spot. The way the tiebreaker works, because we don't play Kentucky head-to-head, is it's based on mutual records against common opponents. Well, we didn't play Tennessee, right? So I'd have to do the math here to see who that would be. But that's where we are. We're tied for 12th, needing a tiebreaker to get to Hoover. That's where we are right now. And the last place team took a series from us. Again, I'm not going to sit here and, have the misery loves company type speech, but the reality of it is, we shouldn't be in a position we're in, but this is where we are. This is where we are. Let's look at what's coming up around the league, too. I will be in Hoover tomorrow evening to watch the Bulldogs play Samford. That game, not at the Samford campus. We played there a couple of years ago and basically had a standing room only game at what felt like a high school venue. So we're going to play that game in Hoover. If you're in the Birmingham area, come out and please support the Bulldogs. I know it doesn't have the luster maybe it had a month ago. This team still needs us. UT Martin will be at Kentucky. Bellarmine will be at Tennessee, but then Cookman will be at Florida. Auburn at Troy. Indiana State's at Vanderbilt. South Carolina Upstate is at South Carolina. Alabama's at Jacksonville State. And then Southeast Louisiana at LSU. It's very rare that we have a midweek where everybody in the SEC wins, like all the conference teams win. I think it's going to happen Tuesday. I do. I think it's going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong. You never know what's going to happen in baseball. Ole Miss will play Southern Miss on Wednesday. So if you've been looking forward to that game, it's available for you. All right, let's look ahead to the weekend. Let's just we'll preview the weekend later in the week, of course. Georgia at Tennessee, that's a series going to start on Thursday. And I love that Thursday series, especially when it's not us, because I love being able to watch SEC baseball that matters on Thursday. And then you've got it all weekend. And, of course, Kentucky will be at South Carolina. That'll be awfully interesting. Kentucky, won't sneak by South Carolina, but, if Kentucky can put a good weekend together, hey. And if you're Mississippi State, you're actually rooting for South Carolina here. Florida is at Missouri. If the Florida team that we saw this weekend goes to Missouri and plays like that, they're going to win. They're going to win the series, probably sweep. If the Missouri team that we saw 2 weeks ago, it'll be a split. But Florida's winning that series. I just don't see any way around it. Mississippi State, of course, at Texas A&M. Aggies playing exceptionally well. Number 10 team in the country right now. Vanderbilt's at Arkansas. I think Arkansas is beginning to kind of find their stride again. It's a big road series win at Auburn. Vanderbilt, good enough to probably go in there and get one. But that'll be one, too. You start thinking, who do you root for? You got to root for the front runners here to beat up on those teams that are around us. So we should be pulling hard for Auburn this weekend as they host Alabama. Alabama's a game ahead of us. And, of course, we'll be rooting for LSU because rooting against Ole Miss is part of our birthright, right? I don't like being in this position any more than you guys do. I mean, we've grown accustomed to not having to depend on other people to help us. But the solution to our problems is to win games. But when I look at the schedule, I begin to think, okay, every series kind of matters to us with a few exceptions. Obviously, we're not going to catch Georgia and Tennessee. Kentucky's right there with us, so it makes sense to pull for South Carolina. Missouri is 2 games behind us. We don't need them winning another series, so we got to pull for Florida. Vanderbilt, just kind of a couple games up there ahead of us. We pull for Arkansas here and pull for Auburn against Alabama and pull for LSU against Ole Miss. We need those teams that we can't catch to beat up the teams we can in order for us to be sure we make it to Hoover. And the fact that we're sweating out Hoover is just one of those things that it blows my mind. It really does. There's just too much talent on this team and too much experience for us to be in this position. So basically, here's what we are. We got to go on a run. Simple as that. We got to get hot, and it's got to start tomorrow. So we can lay down and say, hey, well, at least we won an AFL championship. Or we can say, you know what, I'm not done playing baseball this year. The odds are very much against us. There's no question about it. The odds are against us. We're not going to be in a position where anybody's expecting much from us, and maybe somebody overlooks us. But considering the quality of coaches that we're going to play the next 2 weekends in the SEC, you better believe they're going to tell them, those guys are NAFL champs. They're mad. They're angry. They're going to be desperate. They're going to come out, for blood, and hopefully we will. I just don't have any confidence at this point that we're going to be able to do what's required of us. But I do know this. I am a Mississippi State guy through and through, no doubt. So I'm going to be supporting the team. I'm going to be pulling for them. I'm not going to give up on those guys. But the reality of the situation is we have not shown a lot of gumption this year. We have left a lot of wins on the table, and that's what mediocre teams do, and that's how we're playing. We're playing beneath our capabilities. We're playing beneath our talent level. And the flip side of that is we all knew when Landon Simmons went down that was going to be awful for us. We knew when Stone Simmons went down that was going to be awful. And the hits just kept coming. And it all works together. It's all a big deal. There is not one segment of baseball that doesn't impact the others. And so when you have those guys go down, all of a sudden people begin to think they have to play perfect. They don't play loose. They press. We got to get a big inning here. We got to go out there and put a bunch of runs on the board. So you go up there and sometimes try to do too much. Sometimes you chase some pitches you shouldn't. Defensively, you start thinking, I got to make a play. And so my hope is what happens here down the stretch is these guys just kind of loosen up a little bit. And maybe going on the road will be good for us. I don't know. But I do know this. We're going to see a great team come to town next weekend when Tennessee comes. And we're going to see a great group of baseball players play their last weekend of baseball at Duty Noble Field. There's no chance of us hosting a regional. Zero. Not much chance of us getting into a regional without an incredible finish. But my hope is, rather than just kind of mail it in, that our fans will turn out for that Tennessee series. Let's turn out, support the team, and at the same time, too, kind of push those guys out with some good feelings. So that's kind of, I guess, my request. I'd hate to call it a challenge or anything like that. My hope is, no matter what happens this week, that we can have a good crowd next weekend as we say goodbye to some players that have done some amazing things here at Mississippi State. A group of NAFL champions. A lot of people have asked me, well, Steve, who do you think comes back? Well, most will be gone. Jess Davis, a senior, RJ Yeager, a senior. Obviously, those guys are going to move on. I think Brad Cumbus is going to sign pretty much no matter where he gets drafted. If Brad is drafted, I think Brad's gone. I think Callum Clark's situation will be a little different because he has 2 years of leverage to work with. I think Callum is a guy that if he doesn't get what he wants, asking price-wise, signing bonus-wise, I think Kellum's back. I think there is a possibility you get him back. I think Cam James has a number in mind. He also has 2 years to play with. So he has some leverage. So and I know he really wanted to go last year, but nobody could hit his number. If somebody hits his number this year, he's going to go. So there's a possibility he goes. Lane Forsythe will be back. Not draft eligible yet. Not that I would expect him to be a challenge, even if he was draft eligible this year. I think his baseball's still ahead of him. Luke Hancock's a guy that I feel like he's been here forever, but he has some leverage too. And I think that he's a guy that probably benefits by coming back and catching. He could be the starting catcher next year. But, Luke's a guy too. I think I'm not going to say he's in the same situation as Brad because he has a little more leverage to work with. But, Luke's a guy too that, I think it's going to depend on where he goes. Where does he project? I think his skill set is at catcher. I think everybody knows that's what he projects to be. I think he needs to get more college catching done in order to fetch a draft pick that is probably close to what he expects for himself. And so I think he'll have a decision to make. Brandon Smith may be in the same situation. Brandon's a guy too that I think has kind of found himself later in the year, this past weekend withstanding. I think that he has done a really good job as a starting pitcher for us. If he comes back next year, I think we see that Brandon's a guy that's been very competitive for us and put us in a position to win games, again, this Friday withstanding. All of a sudden, your weekend rotation looks a little bit better going into next year. You start thinking you get the Smiths back, Cade and Brandon. We'll see what happens with Preston. I think Preston Johnson's a guy too. It's his second year, so 2020 didn't count for him either, even though he was in junior college. But I think he's a guy too, because of his size, could be a factor. He's a big, physical guy that can throw 3 pitches for strikes. Of course, we got to work on getting those home runs down. But Preston may be a guy that has a decision to make. So you're going to lose some guys, but I think you're going to return some guys, some draft eligible guys that perhaps that you're thinking you're not going to get back. It is only a 20-round draft this year, which is not what it used to be. Used to guys would, they'd draft somebody 25, 26 round and then just kind of follow for now, and for some bonus money left over, they would go back at them late before they went to school. So we'll see how things go. But no matter what the draft looks like, and no matter what the rest of the season looks like, that last game at Duty Noble Field, it'd be really awesome if we had a lot of Bulldogs there to say goodbye to those that are moving on. Because of their contributions to Mississippi State. The chances of us getting to Omaha this year are pretty slim. You're right? But we've been 3 years in a row. We've made some major memories with these guys. Let's make one more. All right, before we get out of here, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you can get a copy of Dogpile at dogpilethebook.com or other places that great books are sold in the great state of Mississippi. And so, if you want to go back, if you're kind of want to relive the magic of that, I think I captured it in Dogpile. While you're there, you can get Flim Flam, Alpha Dogs, and Stark Villains. And again, quantities of Stark Villains and Alpha Dogs are waning by the day. Matter of fact, I signed a bunch of books just yesterday. And again, we're not going to reprint Villains or Alpha Dogs this year. So if Dad is a reader, or maybe Mom didn't get what she wanted for Mother's Day and she just kind of smiled her way through it, maybe surprise her with a personalized copy of one of my books. Go check it out and be glad you did. But with Father's Day coming up, you start thinking, hey, Dad is really disappointed with baseball, and he's a bit of a reader. He doesn't have Dogpile yet. So maybe surprise him with Dogpile for Father's Day. It's a great Father's Day gift. Dogpilethebook.com. If you're looking for blooms of oleander, Mom, like if people bought you like bakeware or whatever, and you're not a baker, you know what I'm saying? If there's all these gifts, like last-minute gifts, people could get you stuff, and they just kind of hope for the best. Treat yourself. Go get blooms of oleander from, you can get it at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com. If you want it personalized, call down the Book Mart and Cafe in downtown Starkville. I'm happy to go by and sign that for you. Campus Book Mart obviously sells all of the books too, so when you're ordering through them, you can get some Mississippi State merch. But that's where we are with all that stuff. And Dad probably deserves a Stark Villain shirt too. Your dad's tough. He is. Your dad's been through the wars. Let him identify with others, the other Stark Villains. Go to starkvillains.com, and you can order those shirts and have them delivered right to your door. All right, hopefully Wednesday we'll have some funner things to talk about. Of course, I'll be in Sanford or in Hoover to play Sanford Tuesday night. And, again, hope you guys can turn out and be a part of that too. Again, I know the season's not what we wanted it to be, and it's tough. It really is, because we have grown accustomed to playing in an NCAA regional. And people forget, man, we've been in the Supers every year since 16. And now it doesn't look like we're going to make the tournament. And so this is a feeling we have not experienced, in 7 years since the 2015 season. But one of the things that I would want to point out to you, too, is 2015, we were dead last in the SEC. And we came out and won the SEC in 2016. We had guys like Nathaniel Lowe and Jack Kruger and Daniel Brown and some other guys show up, and a guy named Mangum was a freshman. And so I say that because I read sometimes with great interest, people say, oh, next year's going to be even worse. No, it's not. You say, but Steve, you don't know that. You're right, I don't know that, and you don't know that it is. But I know that we have a great coaching staff. I know that we have a great administration. I know that we have a great nucleus of players. And I know that we have an incredible facility and the greatest fans in all of college baseball. I just wish we'd always act like it. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, do I expect next year to be better? I do. I'm eager to see what this team looks like in the fall. But before we get there, let's see if we can't make some memories and maybe play a little spoiler down the stretch and, maybe go into Hoover and shake some things up a little bit, I remember back in 2018 and we thought all is lost, and number one Florida came in here and we swept those guys and found our way into Hoover and ultimately into an NCAA regional. We win that thing at Southern Miss, and next thing you know, man, we win that Super at Vanderbilt, and we're at Omaha and we lose to the eventual NAFL champions in a regional final. I guess in the bracket final. So crazy things can happen in baseball. I'm not saying I'm expecting them, but I'm also not ruling them out. But I believe in the M over S, and I know that you guys do too. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.